Hello, and welcome to Reading 100. This week we're going to take a look at two things. One is a review, and the other one is a note-taking strategy called Cornell Notes. So we're going to be reviewing what you've learned in when you were reading your first memoir, Born a Crime. And we're going to be taking a look at metacognition, and just as a reminder of thinking about your thinking as you're learning. And also we're going to be taking a look at Cornell note-taking. So, brief review. Metacognition. That term, we use it a lot in education. It's recognizing what we know and what we don't know. It's thinking about our own thinking. That's metacognition. So, 9 questions that you want to do to improve your metacognition. And right now we want to think about this as you are reading, right? Before you read, what we're asking you to do, is this similar to what we've asked you to do before? And if so, what do you want to achieve? What should you do first? These are some things you want to be thinking about and how to approach your reading for the week. We are on our last week of reading deadline. If you're doing things the same and haven't been getting good grades, now is the time to think about changing. You don't want to continue to do the same thing if it's not giving you the results that you want. This is where metacognition comes into play. As you're reading, thinking about, am I on the right track? Am I doing what I need to do as I'm reading? What can I do differently to help my result get better? Who can I ask for help? You've got your instructor, you've got other students in the class. And then afterwards, and think about the reflection quizzes that we're asking you to do. What worked well? What could you have done better? And how can you change this the next time around and in other situations that are similar? Metacognition has 3 pillars. It's that growth mindset, knowing that we can improve our abilities to study and to do well in school. In metacognition, we really need to focus on goal setting. That's the reason why we have our goal setting guidelines at the beginning of each week. It's really important for you to establish those patterns, not only in this class, but in other classes as well, especially with online teaching and learning. And the final pillar is evaluation. It's always important in metacognition that you're thinking about how you are accomplishing your tasks, what you did well, and keeping it or adjusting it to do even better, or what you need to improve on. So metacognition, just be thinking about that as we're heading into our last week for reading deadline. So for week 10, you're going to be reading chapters 18 through the epilogue. Please, please, please read the epilogue. It tells you what happens to the characters after the major event. Really important to read. And then also you're going to be doing some peer review on your research project, specifically your analysis of your research and quotes from the book, and also your song playlist. So you'll have 2 discussion boards on that, and that's going to help you round out week 11 as your research project is due then. So again, we've always talked about metacognition now as we're thinking about actively being engaged with our text. How do we prepare for us to read? What do we do while we're reading? What do we do when we've finished reading? And then this week we want you to be thinking about the big picture. What are these overall themes of the book in relation to coping and mental health? Begin making connections between what you've read in these fictional characters written by somebody who has a background in counseling and in the research that you've done on coping and mental health. Where can you find similarities? Where can you find examples from the book that help to enlighten the research that you found, the facts that have been given? And then think about your learning. What worked well and what can be improved. Again, your small group discussion due dates today or this week are for Friday, 10:30 for your initial posts, and your replies are due by, believe it or not, November 1st. Group leaders, please make sure that your small group members are doing what they need to do. So the notes that you're going to be taking this week are what we call note-taking using the Cornell method. Now, you will be using a document that's been created in Google Docs, but you can do this on note paper as well, just lined note paper. For any class that you're taking, either you can do these as you're listening to a lecture, or you can do them when you are reading a text. So again, be thinking about that. This Q column, as we're doing that left-hand side, is where you're going to ask questions, where you're going to be putting keywords in. This is especially important when you're reading, say, science textbooks that are very, very steep in definitions or math. And then the bigger column on the right-hand side is where you begin to make notes of what you're reading and where you summarize concepts. The summary down at the bottom is where you review what you've learned for that particular reading assignment. The benefits of Cornell note-taking is it saves time. It helps you to maximize your note-taking. Instead of just having notes all over the place that you can't make heads or tails of, it gives you a system that organizes your notes. And that way you don't have to rewrite, you don't have to revise. It provides you just an ability to be able to do your notes quickly. Again, it helps to keep you organized. It's efficient. You can use it during lectures. It can be used in any kind of a content area. And those columns back here can be adapted to whatever task you have at hand. So again, make it your own, whatever's going to work best for you. For this week, how we're going to ask you to do it is to put your title up at the top. We're going to ask you to put down any questions you have or that you can think about related to the themes of the books in regard to coping and mental health. In what ways did Chris Crutcher get his point across? Or what questions do you still have about the topics? Any themes or quotes that are related to coping and mental health that you want to put down? And then what have you learned? What have you learned by now, 4 weeks into this, about coping and mental health that you didn't know before you started? Or how did it help enhance your learning if you're well versed in it? So, be thinking about your own thinking and learning as you're working through this week, and be thinking about effective Cornell note-taking. Be well, take care, and remember, you've got this.